Okay, so here's the book for our Victorian ornaments. I tore out some pages. I got them photocopied onto cardstock at the UPS store. I'll link to the book in the description box. And so I'm just cutting out one of my copies. I copied them so that I could reuse the same images over and over. It is a copyright-free book. When you're cutting out, I think it's best to leave a tiny little border of white around what you're cutting out. And then our base for the ornaments are these wooden shapes that I got at Hobby Lobby that I covered with scrapbook paper on the back and front, and then Mod Podged over it. And then when that dried, I kind of sanded off the edges to make sure they were nice and smooth with a nail file. So now I'm choosing my images to go on each one of the ornaments. It's fine if it hangs off a little bit, like we'll just trim that up. And I'm just using regular white glue to attach it. So a little white glue, and then make sure you kind of spread it out on the back to get all those little edges and corners stuck down. And then I'm applying that to the ornament, and it's hanging off the edge. But after that's dried a little bit, I'll just flip that over on the back and then trim off the excess. And I'll do that on every one of the ornaments. Okay, to add a word, I just have a Word document that I made using Christmas words in different fonts. I printed that out, and then I think I coffee stained it. So you can coffee stain it or tea stain it or tone it down with a little bit of watercolor. And then I'm just cutting out a Christmas word, kind of crinkling it up a little bit to give it a little texture, maybe making a little V on the end to make it look like a ribbon. And then applying that on top of the collage image that we glued down, and then trimming that off if it hangs off the edge a little bit, because we just want to stay within the shape of the ornament. You can see I just flipped the ornament over and trim off what's left on the back. And so we'll just continue so that every ornament has a little image and a word all glued down. And then we're going to let those dry, and then we will embellish. Okay, so our ornaments are dry up to this point. We have our collage image on there. We have our words on there, and you might need to clean up the edges a little bit, make sure they're just nice and neat around the edges. I have a couple of little wooden shapes. They were in like a big multi-bag that I got at Dollar Tree, and I'm gonna hot glue a star to one of my ornaments and a heart to one of my ornaments. You can really embellish with any of those little scraps you have laying around, scraps from other projects, scraps from decorating, maybe little odds and ends from Christmas decorations you're not using anymore. Any little three-dimensional object on there, and all the little 3D bits and pieces, I am adhering with hot glue. That seems to hold them perfectly fine. Trying to be neat with it so we don't have a lot of glue like squishing out around the edge. I don't like to see dried clumps of hot glue. We can make a little 3D candy cane. This is kind of a vintage style candy cane by twisting a red pipe cleaner and a white pipe cleaner together. So twisting those together and then cutting a length of that off, and then bend it around, and it makes a cute little pipe cleaner chenille stem, candy cane. Chenille stem, I guess, is the technical term, but I have to admit that I do fall back into calling them pipe cleaners all the time. So that's a simple little decoration you can make, and that little candy cane, you can put that on gift tags, other ornaments. It's just a cute little embellishment that you can make that really is extremely inexpensive to do. So we'll just continue on embellishing all of our ornaments, maybe jingle bells, little pieces of greenery. I have some ball fringe. You can cut off a little scrap of fabric, that's just a little torn scrap of fabric. You could make a little bow out of any fabric scrap you have laying around, and attach that, or a little scrap of ribbon. jute twine. I have some baker's twine there. You could tie little bows with that. I have a big hunk of greenery that I've just been pulling off. The greenery that I'm using right there is a pick from Joann Fabrics, and I found that the little berries fall off really easily, so I'm not even trying to use the berries stuck to the branches. I just pluck the berries off, they fall off anyway, and then if I want to use the berries, just hot gluing those into place. But really, you can use just about any little Christmassy scrap or doodad you have laying around to embellish your ornaments. I think that gives them kind of their vintage feel, is that they're kind of fussy, like there's a lot of pieces going on. They are not, it's not a minimalist situation in the least. It's kind of, I don't like to use the word Victorian, but you could kind of use that, that phrase, that there are just a lot of details and that kind of vintage imagery, and then like the antiqued words kind of all come together to give you that vintagey Christmas look. The hangers I'm going to make for my ornaments, I'm going to use that baker's twine, and that big roll of baker's twine came from Dollar Tree. It's in their craft section, and I feel like baker's twine is kind of everywhere in 2020. You can use it as an ornament hanger, or as you can tie up a package with it. It's just something that looks super cute. And then we'll use that to make hangers for these ornaments, just cutting off a length and then tying a knot in it and then hot gluing it to the back. And this is secure enough. I tried originally to use one of my eye hooks to twist into these shapes, but these shapes are plywood. They're like laminated layers of wood. And when I twisted the eye hook in there, the layers split. So I would not recommend using the eye hook to create the hanger. You could, if you're handy with a power tool, and I don't use power tools. I feel like 2021, I need to start using power tools. You could drill a hole easily to feed your twine through. I did not drill a hole. I just made a little knot and then hot glued the hanger straight to the back of my ornament. And I have some of these hanging on a tree. They've been hanging there for a couple of weeks. They're not falling apart. This is not something I would put outside. It's not something that's super high mileage. So I feel fine about just hot gluing that loop of string to the back. All right, time to finish up our vintage collage ornaments with a little bit of glitter. Listen, if you don't like glitter, I will never force you to use glitter. I love glitter. This is a super fine glitter. I think this glitter is from Joann's. And I'm just going to add a little bit of sparkle. So a little bit of my white glue. That's just plain white glue, not washable white glue. I do not like washable glue. It's not really that sticky. I feel like it can either be washable or sticky. And when it comes to glue, I prefer sticky. So a little bit of my white glue here and there in my ornaments. And then, oh, look, I didn't even have the lid off my glitter. And then a little bit of my glitter sprinkled right over the glue. And then when you glitter it, of course, it'll just stick to where the glue is. And then you can kind of turn them over on a piece of paper or straight over the trash can, tap off that extra, and then you need to let them sit and dry completely before you hang them on a present, or give them away. And there's our cute little vintage style ornaments.